You know how sometimes you stumble across something that just, well, sparks your curiosity, maybe makes you think about untapped potential.
Definitely.
We've been looking at exactly that, how different places approach building economic opportunities. And today we're taking a really fascinating look at some ideas for, well, nimble tourism ventures in Iran.
Hmm.
It's all thanks to this document called İtsalyo Yus, which translates to embedded writing.
Right. Think of it as a kind of blueprint almost.
Yeah, exactly. A blueprint for tourism businesses designed to get off the ground pretty quickly.
Absolutely. And what makes Iran such an interesting place to, explore this is just the sheer variety it offers.
Tell me about it.
I mean, you've got landscapes ranging from really impressive mountains and dense forests to beautiful coastlines, expansive deserts.
Wow.
And then you layer on top, centuries of rich history, a vibrant culture. It's a very distinctive setting for these kinds of, well, innovative tourism ideas.
Exactly. So our goal in this deep dive really is to pull out the most compelling and maybe even surprising insights from this embedded writing document.
Okay.
Specifically focusing on those tourism business ideas that can start generating revenue relatively quickly, without needing huge initial investment.
Right, the lower barrier to entry stuff.
Yeah, we're getting a kind of ground level view of a different way of thinking about tourism development, I suppose.
And it's important to remember, our discussion today, it's directly informed by the specific business concepts detailed in these excerpts from the ADS UA, the APCOSH document itself.
Got it.
It's basically a collection of potential small-scale tourism initiatives that are being considered.
Okay, so let's dive right in then. The document really seems to emphasize the potential of these small-scale tourism businesses for seeing those faster returns in Iran.
That's the core idea.
It's about being agile, smart with resources, not necessarily, building massive infrastructure projects right away.
Precisely. The focus is very much on adaptable models that can really leverage the existing assets and, well, the unique attractions that Iran already has.
Okay, so first up, we've got this concept of shol homestays. That sounds like a fantastic way to tap into that desire people have for more authentic travel.
Yeah, it really does. What's compelling here is the simplicity and the inherent appeal. The idea is basically taking existing traditional houses, often ones that show off beautiful local architecture, and then carefully renovating them.
Okay.
Just enough to host tourists who are looking for that immersive rural or local experience. This really speaks to travelers wanting a break from, say, typical city life, seeking peace, and a genuine taste of local culture.
And the investment side seems pretty straightforward, right? The document mentions focusing on upgrading these homes with, essential comforts.
Exactly. Things like private bathrooms, decent heating and cooling, maybe a kitchen where local dishes can actually be prepared.
Ah.
And, of course, incorporating traditional decor to keep that feel.
Right, so keeping costs manageable is key.
That's it. It's about thoughtfully enhancing what's already there, making sure the authenticity isn't lost in the process.
And who's the audience for this?
Well, it seems quite broad, actually. Both Iranian tourists looking for a weekend escape and international visitors who might be seeking a deeper cultural connection.
Makes sense.
The real draw is that you're not just, seeing a place. You're kind of experiencing life within it, even if just briefly.
Okay, very cool. Next, the document brings up to the odd UK tourism caps and camping. This feels like a really direct way to capitalize on Iran's diverse natural beauty.
Absolutely. And this caters to a slightly different kind of traveler, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe younger people, more adventurous types, nature groups, even schools, families looking for those outdoor adventures. So the concept involves setting up well-equipped campsites. Think comfortable tents, maybe some traditional style gazebos for people to gather in,
Right.
designated fire pits.
The essentials?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then adding value with things like marked hiking trails, guided nature walks, or even, depending on the location, more adventurous stuff.
Like what?
Like mountaineering, perhaps, or cycling trails, even wildlife safaris if the area supports it. It really depends on the specific natural features.
And it sounds like the initial setup costs could be relatively low compared to, say, building a hotel.
Potentially, yes.
But with the potential for group bookings, it could maybe scale up quite quickly, especially if it's near popular natural spots.
Oh, location is absolutely paramount for these ventures.
Right.
Crucial.
Right.
Being strategically placed near well-known natural tourist destinations, it just massively boosts your visibility and, makes it easy for people to find you.
Makes total sense. Now, this next one really caught my eye. Inya Awa, nomadic tourism. That feels like a truly unique cultural offering.
It really is.
Yeah.
And as the document suggests, there's definitely a growing interest globally in cultural immersion, experiencing ways of life that are just different.
Yeah, totally.
So nomadic tourism taps right into that. The model involves either partnering directly with nomadic tribes, like working with them to host tourists in their traditional settings,
Wow. Okay.
or alternatively, creating dedicated camps that authentically replicate the nomadic structures.
Yeah.
The traditional black tents, offering traditional food, local music performances.
So it's about providing a window into a completely different way of life.
Precisely. Giving people a genuine glimpse.
And again, it seems like the core infrastructure costs are relatively low here,
Compared to building fixed structures, yes.
while the cultural appeal is just incredibly high, which, as the document points out, could lead to that quicker return on investment.
Exactly. It's leveraging a very distinctive cultural asset that doesn't really require extensive built infrastructure. It's like highlighting a unique tradition that already exists, Yeah, showcasing it. Okay, moving on to something we can all appreciate. Food. The document talks about Urea Quate chain, traditional and, interestingly, mobile restaurants.
Yes. Food. Always essential for the travel experience, isn't it?
Definitely.
So the idea here is pretty clear. Establishing restaurants, either fixed ones with a really traditional atmosphere or, as you said, mobile food vendors.
Right.
And the key is specializing in local cuisine, but serving it with a kind of unique, memorable style.
The mobile aspect seems particularly smart for those faster returns you mentioned.
It does offer flexibility.
Being able to, set up shop near popular tourist spots or along busy routes with a relatively low initial cost, that sounds like a pretty direct path to potential profit.
Well, the adaptability is a huge advantage. They can easily move to where the demand actually is,
Good point.
capitalizing on local festivals, public holidays, seasonal events, maximizing their sales potential that way. Very clever. Okay, our next category is Inipialeño Razias, agricultural tourism. This sounds like a really, pleasant way to connect with nature and maybe learn something.
Yeah, agritourism, as it's often called. It offers visitors the chance to experience life on a working farm, firsthand.
So what does that actually involve?
It could be visiting farms, maybe participating in activities like harvesting crops or picking fruit, perhaps learning a bit about animal care.
Hands-on stuff?
Exactly. Or even trying their hand at crafting some traditional rural products.
The appeal is that it provides a simple, often educational escape into nature for people looking to disconnect from the city buzz.
And the great thing, it seems, is that the initial investment is likely pretty low.
Generally, yes.
Because many of the resources you'd need are already there locally. Plus, it has that added benefit of supporting local economies, right? And helping preserve rural ways of life.
It's potentially a very mutually beneficial situation. It generates income for rural communities while offering a really valuable, enriching experience for tourists. Nice. Okay, now let's talk about Esu garden tourism and wedding venues. This seems like blending natural beauty with events.
Precisely. This involves developing gardens not just as, quiet places for enjoyment, but also as active spaces that can host visitors, families, and various events.
So more than just a pretty garden.
Right. You could include things like creating attractive walking paths, picturesque spots for photos, very important these days, maybe butterfly gardens, local craft markets.
Okay.
And even, as the name suggests, dedicated venues within the garden setting for hosting weddings or other celebrations.
So it's really about creating multiple revenue streams from one beautiful natural space.
Exactly that. Maximizing the potential of the land for different kinds of activities and attracting a wider range of visitors.
Got it. Next up, we have Ancha Elton at the Hika forest parks and natural recreation complexes. Given Iran's landscapes, this feels like a very natural fit, especially in those northern provinces mentioned, like Mazandaran, Gilan.
Oh, absolutely. Those regions with their abundant forests offer a fantastic opportunity. The document points out that you can actually start developing these areas with relatively modest initial capital.
Really?
Yeah, and then gradually expand the facilities over time.
Yeah.
The basic amenities you need to start are fairly simple.
Like what? Benches?
Yeah, Things like benches for resting, designated fire pits for cooking or gathering, maybe rental tents for people who want to stay overnight, safe kids' play areas.
And maybe a small cafe or something.
Exactly. Perhaps a basic forest restaurant serving local food to cater to visitors. Nothing too fancy initially.
And the main target audience here would be people looking for, like, day trips, short breaks.
That seems to be the core market, yes. People looking for picnics, short recreational stays, especially during holidays and weekends when families have more free time.
Right.
Providing easily accessible natural spaces for leisure.
Makes sense. Now, for those who might be more interested in the service side, less on the building side, the document also mentions Kiotik Thudi, tourism services and local agencies.
Right, and this is quite a smart entry point, isn't it? For individuals who want to get into the tourism sector without needing to invest heavily in physical infrastructure.
So how does that work?
Well, the business model here really centers around creating and managing short-term tours. It involves establishing partnerships with existing accommodations, hotels, guest houses, local drivers, experienced tour guides.
So you're coordinating things.
Exactly. You're the organizer, the packager.
And the potential for a quick return is highlighted again here, especially if you can maybe tap into less explored regions.
That's a key opportunity, yes. Tapping into those areas that have high potential but maybe aren't on the main tourist track yet, offering specialized tours that meet unmet needs in the market.
So it's about being resourceful, having good local knowledge.
Absolutely. And crafting appealing, well-organized experiences for visitors. That's crucial.
Okay, and finally we have Ainsho, Hair's Way, Mutwanta's health and wellness tourism. This feels like a huge global trend that Iran, with its natural resources and traditions, could really tap into.
It certainly could. This area covers a whole range of services focused on promoting well-being.
Such as?
Things like offering massage therapies, traditional Persian baths, hammams, maybe traditional medicine consultations, yoga and meditation retreats, nutritional advice.
Right.
And importantly, leveraging natural resources like the many mineral hot springs found in certain parts of Iran. Those are a big draw.
And who would this appeal to?
Well, it has the potential to attract both domestic tourists looking for, relaxation and rejuvenation, and also international travelers seeking unique, authentic wellness experiences. It's a growing market.
Definitely. Now, the document also includes a really useful FAQ section, it seems, touching on key success factors. Location selection comes up again as critical.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Choosing the right location, one that aligns perfectly with your target audience and the specific experience you're offering, it's just fundamental, absolutely vital for attracting visitors.
And it also emphasizes understanding what tourists actually want, and maybe even more importantly, consistently delivering high-quality service.
Well, those are essential in any service business, right? And tourism is no exception. Meeting and ideally, exceeding guest expectations is just vital for getting good reviews, word of mouth, repeat business.
The FAQ also highlights using local capacities and resources whenever possible.
Yeah, and this ties back into that theme of authenticity and sustainability we touched on earlier.
How so?
Well, using local materials, local skills, local cultural knowledge, it not only helps keep costs down, potentially, but it also significantly enriches the overall tourist experience, makes it feel more real.
Good point. And of course, effective advertising and creative marketing to actually get the word out.
Yep. You can have the most incredible offering, but if people don't know about it, it doesn't matter much, does it? So smart creative marketing is absolutely essential.
The FAQs also give a kind of estimated time frame for return on investment, something like 6 months to 2 years?
That's what it suggests, yes.
Sure.
With some ventures, like maybe those ecotourism restaurants or the mobile camps, potentially seeing even faster returns.
Which really fits that whole fast routine concept.
Exactly. These are models designed specifically to start generating income relatively quickly, especially compared to, say, large-scale hotel developments that can take years just to break even.
It's also important to note, I guess, that you need permits, right, from the Cultural Heritage, Tourism, and Handicrafts Organization.
Oh, absolutely. That's a required step.
Yeah.
And the specific process, the paperwork, it can vary depending on the exact type of project you're proposing.
So navigating the local regulations is part of the deal.
It is. Securing the proper authorizations is necessary for any legitimate tourism business.
Okay. And finally, the document seems to loop back and reiterate that things like homestays and agricultural tourism are particularly good for boosting rural economies.
Yes, it emphasizes that. They provide opportunities for local development by really capitalizing on the unique resources and cultural heritage already present in those rural regions.
And it clearly defines fast return tourism, again, right at the end.
It does.
Yeah.
Just to recap, limited initial investment, potential for profitability in a relatively short time, and no need for really complex or lengthy infrastructure development.
Which brings us right back to the core ideas we've been talking about.
Exactly.
So wrapping this up, this deep dive into the embedded writing document, it really paints a picture of a dynamic landscape of opportunities in Iran for this kind of quick return tourism.
A lot of potential highlighted.
The emphasis is clearly on leveraging the country's incredible natural beauty, its rich cultural heritage, focusing on authentic local experiences.
And finding relatively low-cost ways to get these businesses started.
Yeah. What's particularly interesting, I think, is how these models seem to prioritize smaller-scale initiatives that are both, culturally sensitive and really connected to the natural environment.
That focus comes through quite strongly.
It really does make you think, doesn't it? For you listening, consider how these approaches centered around smaller, authentic, nature-focused experiences might offer valuable insights or even spark inspiration for tourism development in other places you know well.
Or perhaps even ideas for your own potential ventures, wherever you might be.
Exactly. It's definitely worth mulling over the specific cultural and geographical factors that make these Iranian examples potentially successful, and how those underlying principles might be adapted or applied in different contexts around the world. Something to think about.